What's up, dudes? We're going to talk about patch 11.2.7, which is dropping today. It's bringing a lot of really good things to WoW, including a big fix to a problem Blizzard made all the way back at the start of World of Warcraft in 2004. It's been in the game since then. That's kind of a little treat at the end of the video for you. But there is also some legitimately great stuff in this patch that could kind of revitalize the entire game and fix our actual biggest problem with World of Warcraft's design over the past 10 or 12 years. Housing is here if you've pre-ordered Midnight. Obviously, that's a big incentive for players to do exactly that. It is available with any level of pre-order, which is kind of nice. So let's go ahead and get right into it, but first, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join our Discord as well. Alright, let's start by talking about what's not going to be in the patch, just to, make sure there's no confusion or whatever. First off, there's not going to be any Midnight content, no raids or dungeons or anything. The expansion isn't releasing 3 months early, right? Also, there's not really any class changes, and that's okay. There's no Devourer or Demon Hunter. Also fine, those are going to be in the pre-patch, which we'll talk about when we think that's going to happen in a little bit here. The UI rework is also not in this patch. The add-on Apocalypse, that's not happening. You can turn your add-ons off now if you want, but Blizzard is waiting until the 12.0 pre-patch to do that. Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about when we think that's going to happen. There's a lot of evidence that it's just going to be early February. Like, we can honestly just kind of jump ahead in our notes here and go, Turbulent Timeways ends February 9th. That's probably the day that the pre-patch is going to happen. So there you go. February 9th, that's probably the pre-patch. Of course, we know from Blizzard putting out a few days ago now, the release date for Midnight being March 2nd, that March 2nd is when it's going to release. Technically, February 28th is when it'll be available to play for people who have the Epic Edition or whatever. They'll be able to play a few days early. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's happening in this patch. And this is going to be a very story-heavy patch. They're really pushing that as kind of the front line of stuff that's happening in the patch. They're going to finish up the War Within campaign. That's continuing, and there is a little bit of a new storytelling device next to Lorewalker Cho in Dornagol, literally a book that reads itself to you, telling you what's going on with the story. So that's a pretty good way to kind of encapsulate story for anybody who, I don't know, maybe missed something or wants a refresher or checked out at any point during the expansion. That's a good tool for them to have going forward and use in all future expansions. Housing early access is really the big feature of this patch. It is going to be available for everyone. So there've been a lot of jokes about homeowners associations and stuff, and it turns out, just going off of some recent Reddit posts, guilds are actually using WoW Audit, and they even showed off an example in that Reddit post that I'm looking at there, how guilds are using WoW Audit to be able to divvy up housing plots. So yeah, the homeowners association memes are actually kind of real, but you're going to be able to just get into a regular neighborhood. That'll be fine. You can do a guild one if you want, but just regular neighborhoods will be available too. Plenty of options, and there's going to be a lot of competition over some of the really good plots, some of the ones down by the water, which I think this particular one is the one that Sunset had in the beta. When we were looking at housing in the beta, this is the one that she liked, and hey, it turns out it's everybody's favorite. Now, one of the big things is kind of glossed over here, and Blizzard has put out some official information about housing, but they've kind of glossed over this little bit here in their official post, is that housing is really doing a good job of kind of bringing back a lot of the old world aspects of World of Warcraft, which is one of the biggest problems that Sunset and I have had with this game. The idea that they make all this great content, and then you leave the zone once a new patch comes out, and you never go back, and you never use any of the currency from it, and all of those assets are just left there to sit there unused forever. Obviously, that's not great. And this is a way for Blizzard to really bring a lot of life back into that just by letting players go back there. There are also, not really discussed in this section of the post, but there are neighborhood events that you can participate in, and some of them are as simple as drink a glass of milk from Zangarmarsh or something, but others will be go to Zangarmarsh and kill some guys and get stuff from them and then bring them back to the neighborhood, and that'll progress the neighborhood quest line, and then you get some rewards out of that at the end of the deal. So there's a lot of reason to go back and experience old segments of the world and kind of fix a lot of the issues that happened with garrisons, where everybody felt I sit alone in my garrison and I never see other people anymore. Now you have a reason to hang out in a neighborhood and go to different parts of the old world and re-experience stuff that they spent a lot of time and effort making and looks very nice, and now there's actually a justification to go back there. And a reward for doing so, right? You get some cosmetic stuff to throw into your house, some garbage for me to throw into my scrapper front yard like I like. Alright, so that's housing. Now, one thing that has happened with housing is there's going to be a big portal in the main portal room of Orgrimmar Stormwind, and I can't speak for Stormwind, but for Orgrimmar, they have actually reordered the layout of the portals in the portal room, which is great because they had put a lot of the more important portals, like Ornagal, for example, in the basement, which was just terrible, and that has been changed. Pretty much all the important portals are now upstairs, and all the dumb, worthless portals are down in the basement, as it should be. So there are some other things that are being brought back as well. The Brawlers Guild is coming back, although that's coming back on the December 9th weekly reset, so a week after the patch comes out. This is the only thing that's being time-gated. Not really sure why it is. Kind of a better late than never sort of deal, right? Like, this is coming all the way at the very end of the expansion, but, you know, it's here. You could go do Brawlers Guild stuff if you like it. Then there are several other new little instant storylines that are being added into this patch. There is a Blood Elf Lorewalking experience. I played around with that. It's interesting. You can see a lot of important story beats throughout the history of Blood Elves. Sylvanas dying, Silvermoon falling, Arthas coming in and killing everything. I was able to attack NPCs, the Blood Elf NPCs that are supposed to be my friends during the quest where I was supposed to be helping them defend Silvermoon against the Scourge. I think this might mean that I'm like a bloodthirsty psychopath, and honestly maybe more evil than Arthas since I was killing Scourge and Blood Elf alike. I do think it's a bit of fun, like, bit of accidental storytelling though, like putting the Doom Marine into Pride and Prejudice. I don't know. Then there's also the new player experience, new and returning player experience, I suppose. This was very quick. It only took like 10 minutes to do the questline, and maybe less than that, to be honest. It teaches you everything you need to know how to play the game in just a matter of minutes. It was actually very effective. I think it's a really good tutorial. So if you're coming back after a big break, or maybe it's your first time playing the game, whatever, you get a big friendly tutorial and a full set of gear to get you started. I think it's a really, really good tutorial. It also teaches you how to correctly time interrupts with new favorite NPC ever, Fightbot. Love that guy. So this is great. No real reason to do it if you've already got decent gear and you know what you're doing in the game, but very good for like returning players getting their feet wet again. There's also Pandaren Heritage Armor. There's a questline for this as well. There's kind of been some mixed reviews on the appearance for the Heritage Armor, but there are at least some nice looking pieces in here, and 3 different transmog or color palette swaps available, so like, you know, some stuff to play around with. At least they finally did it. There were a lot of people thinking that it would just never happen, including myself. I'm glad to be wrong. There is finally Pandaren Heritage Armor in the game, and the questline is very fun and cute. Alright, next, and one of the more fun things being added in this patch is the Turbulent Timeways. It's coming back, and this is kind of why we're able to probably pretty accurately guess when the pre-patch event's going to happen. This is going to run from December 2nd, today, as of the time of releasing this video. Technically, I'm recording this before. You kind of always record things before you put them out, don't you? Anyways, this is going to run for a little over 2 months, which is a little longer than they usually do Turbulent Timeways. There's usually an achievement for doing 6 weeks in a row of doing like 5 dungeons, so look out for that. And then also you get like heroic raid level gear out of doing just kind of easy time walking dungeons, so that's useful as well. And then on top of all of that, they're adding in some Shadowlands dungeons in a time walking rotation, so that'll be fun to play around with too. You can get some achievements, get some heroic raid gear, gear up a character very easy. And also there's a big XP bonus associated with Turbulent Timeways as well, so just great for people at all levels. You're leveling, you're trying to gear up a character, you just want to get some cool mounts or whatever. Okay, so that's most of everything in the patch, but there are a couple of other small things that have really flown under the radar. They've just kind of been hidden down here that are actually really valuable upgrades to the game. And the first of those is that Skyriding has been kind of redesigned a little bit, and it's just like all a bank error in the player's favor. Vigor has been removed as a concept, and now instead it's just sort of baked into the way that Surge Forward and Lift Off work, but Takeoff is now free to use. So you no longer have a 1 Vigor penalty for starting to fly, that's just free. Additionally, Whirling Surge is on a 30-second cooldown, which is longer, but it's also free. They just forgot to put that in the patch notes, don't know why, but it is free now, so these are just like both just a big improvement for players. And other than that, The behavior of like flying fast makes you recharge your vigor faster. That's still in the game. It just works for the 2 skills that have cooldowns, or charges, you know, that used to use vigor. Those don't have like a vigor bar anymore. It's just kind of made the UI like even simpler and easier than it was, while changing none of the functionality except to make starting to fly free and whirling surge free, both of which are great. Okay, and then the big thing that I hinted at in the intro, kind of silly, but not really. The default behavior for A and D for World of Warcraft has always been to turn left and turn right, which is like a huge disadvantage for players, like Q and E big, strafe left and strafe right. Has always been bad design. It's been something that like I was first told in 2005, like change that, change that, change that. It's something we've been telling new players to change the first thing they do when they log in, change that, and it's something that Blizzard definitely should have changed before now, but that, you know, they've finally chosen to go ahead and just change that default, and it is legitimately a good change for the game. Okay, we like to ask a question at the end of these videos, and we've been eating a lot of vegetables lately, so we're just gonna go with a simple one. What's your favorite vegetable? Let us know in the comment section. We're always looking for a recommendation for dinner. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more WoW content, become a channel member or come boost the Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.